Hello everyone, and welcome back. I am so grateful you have joined me today, and I can't wait to dive into something that has the power to change your life. That is, I have come to share with you 5 secrets that every man holds deep within his heart, secrets that, if understood, will transform your relationships, marriages, and interactions with the men in your life. These are not just ideas. They are principles embedded in the very fabric of a man's being. And when you embrace these truths, you will unlock a level of love, loyalty, and devotion that many women desire but few truly experience. The first secret is this: a man's greatest need is not love, it is respect. You see, love is important, but if you tell a man you love him while making him feel small, insignificant, or incapable, your love means nothing to him. A man measures his worth by how he is valued. When a man feels respected, he will go to war for you, protect you, and pour out his heart for you. But when he feels disrespected, he will shut down, withdraw, or even seek that respect elsewhere. Secondly, men are not always expressive with words, but they show love through actions. A man may not always say, "I love you" 100 times a day, but he will build, provide, protect, and serve. He may fix things around the house, work long hours, or take on responsibilities silently. These are his love languages. If you do not recognize these actions as love, you may wrongly assume he does not care. Learn to see his actions for what they are: silent declarations of his devotion. The third secret is that men need a safe place to be vulnerable. Ladies, the world tells a man to be strong, to never cry, to never admit fear. He is told that showing weakness makes him less of a man, and so he walks around with battles in his mind, with unspoken burdens in his heart. If you are the woman who creates a space where he can be himself without ridicule, without criticism, without making him feel small, you will have a man who is deeply connected to you. The woman who understands his pain becomes the one he trusts with his soul. The fourth secret is this: a man's purpose is his life's mission. He is not just looking for love, he is looking for someone who believes in his vision. Before he even thinks about marriage, he is asking himself, can this woman help me fulfill my assignment in life? When a woman supports his dreams and aligns with his purpose, she becomes irreplaceable to him. But when she competes with it or distracts him from it, he may begin to resent her. The greatest gift you can give a man is not just your beauty or charm, it is your belief in his calling. And finally, men don't just want to be loved, they want to be needed. A man wants to feel like he adds value to your life, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. If a man feels like he is just an accessory in your life, he will begin to withdraw. Show him that what he does matters, that his presence makes a difference. When a man feels needed, he will stay present. When he feels unnecessary, he will begin to fade away. These are the 5 secrets that men wish you knew. Not because they are complicated, but because society has trained us to overlook them. If you apply these principles, you will see a transformation in the men around you. You will find deeper love, greater connection, and a level of devotion that is built on understanding. And when a man is truly understood, he will move mountains for the woman who sees him for who he really is. A man's deepest emotional craving is respect. It is the foundation upon which he builds his confidence, self-worth, and ability to love fully. While love is essential, respect is what fuels a man's drive to lead, protect, and provide. When a man feels respected, he feels valued, appreciated, and empowered to step into his role with strength and certainty. Respect is not just about words, it is about actions, tone, and attitude. A man can tell when he is being honored and when he is being belittled. He notices when his efforts are appreciated and when they are dismissed as insignificant. Even the smallest gesture, acknowledging his hard work, trusting his decisions, and valuing his input speak volumes to his heart. A man does not need perfection from a woman, but he does need to feel that he is seen as capable and competent. Disrespect, even when unintentional, wounds a man deeply. Criticism, constant correction, or making him feel inadequate strips him of his confidence. When a man senses disrespect, he either shuts down emotionally or reacts defensively. This is why many men withdraw from conversations or become silent when they feel attacked. They are not avoiding responsibility. They are protecting themselves from feeling diminished. Respect is also about allowing a man to lead in his way. It does not mean blind submission, but rather trusting him enough to handle responsibilities. A man thrives when he knows his opinions matter, his strengths are recognized, and his efforts are not taken for granted. Encouragement and admiration inspire him to give his best. When a man is honored, he pours out his love more freely, knowing that the woman beside him sees him as worthy, capable, and strong. Men are not always vocal about their emotions, but their love is evident in what they do rather than just what they say. While women often express affection through words, men demonstrate their love through action. Their commitment is reflected in the way they provide, protect, and support the people they care about. A man may not always say, "I love you" multiple times a day, but he will show it through his consistency, responsibility, and willingness to sacrifice. A man's love is seen in the little things, fixing something that is broken, ensuring his family is safe, working long hours to provide, or simply being present in difficult moments. He does not always feel the need to verbalize his emotions because in his mind, his actions are proof enough. He believes that love is shown, not just spoken. When a man takes care of responsibilities, makes life easier, or supports dreams and ambitions, he is expressing love in the best way he knows how. Misunderstandings often arise when his efforts go unnoticed. When a woman expects verbal affirmations but overlooks his silent expressions of love, he may feel unappreciated. This is why acknowledging his actions is so important. When his efforts are recognized, he is encouraged to do even more. But when they are taken for granted or dismissed, he may withdraw, feeling as though his love is unimportant. Men also express love through problem solving. When a woman shares her struggles, a man instinctively looks for solutions because he sees this as a way to care for her. His desire to fix things is not a lack of empathy, but an attempt to provide security and stability. Understanding this helps bridge the gap between emotional expression and the practical ways men show love. Men are often taught from a young age that strength means suppressing emotions, that vulnerability is a weakness, and that showing fear or uncertainty makes them less of a man. Society expects men to be providers, protectors, and pillars of strength, but beneath that exterior, they experience doubts, fears, and struggles just like anyone else. The difference is that they rarely feel safe enough to express them. Many men carry silent burdens, not because they do not want to share, but because they fear being judged, ridiculed, or misunderstood. A man longs for a place where he can let down his guard without being seen as weak. He needs someone who will listen without criticism, who will allow him to express his struggles without trying to fix him or use his vulnerability against him later. Trust is essential in this process. If a man opens up once and is met with mockery, impatience, or dismissal, he may never do it again. Instead, he will retreat into silence, carrying his struggles alone. When a woman creates a space where a man feels emotionally safe, he will form a deeper bond with her. He will begin to share his dreams, his fears, and even the pain he has never spoken about before. He does not need every problem solved. He just needs to know that someone genuinely cares. Encouragement, patience, and understanding give him the confidence to be his true self without fear of being seen as less of a man. Emotional security allows a man to love more freely. When he feels safe, He does not have to pretend to be invincible. He can be both strong and vulnerable, knowing that his emotions are respected, valued, and protected in the hands of someone who truly understands him. A man's identity is deeply connected to his sense of purpose. More than love, companionship, or even success, a man longs to know that his life has meaning. He is driven by the need to achieve, build, and contribute to something greater than himself. Without a clear sense of purpose, he feels lost, unfulfilled, and disconnected from his true potential. His purpose is not just his career or financial success. It is the reason he wakes up every day, the vision that fuels his passion, and the mission that gives his life direction. A man measures his worth by what he accomplishes. This is why he dedicates himself to work, leadership, and personal growth. When his purpose is nurtured and supported, he thrives in every area of his life. But when it is questioned, undermined, or ignored, he begins to feel inadequate and frustrated. A man needs to know that the people closest to him, especially the woman in his life, believe in his vision. If he feels that she does not respect his calling, he will either distance himself emotionally or pour his energy into something else where he feels valued. Distractions, setbacks, and discouragement can cause a man to waver in his sense of purpose, but the right support can reignite his fire. He is not looking for someone to control or redefine his mission. He is looking for someone who stands beside him as he pursues it. A woman who encourages his dreams, speaks life into his ambitions, and understands the weight of his calling becomes irreplaceable to him. She is not just his partner. She is his greatest source of strength. When a man fully embraces his purpose, he walks with confidence, knowing that his life has meaning and that he is making a lasting impact. A man desires to be more than just a companion in a woman's life. He wants to feel truly needed. Being wanted is flattering, but being needed gives him a sense of purpose and value in the relationship. When a man knows that his presence, efforts, and contributions make a meaningful difference, he feels empowered, motivated, and deeply connected. He wants to be more than just someone who shares moments. He wants to be an integral part of a woman's life, someone whose presence adds strength, stability, and support. A man does not want to feel replaceable. If he senses that he is merely an option or that his role in a woman's life is insignificant, he begins to withdraw emotionally. He needs to know that what he brings to the table, whether through protection, provision, guidance, or support, is valued and recognized. It is not about feeding his ego, but affirming his importance. When his contributions are dismissed, overlooked, or taken for granted, he may begin to question his place in the relationship. Feeling needed does not mean a woman must depend on a man for everything. It simply means allowing him to play his role. Many men express love through acts of service-fixing things, offering advice, solving problems, or providing solutions. When a woman acknowledges and appreciates these gestures, she speaks directly to his heart. He does not need excessive praise, but he does need to know that what he does matters. A man thrives when he feels like a protector, a provider, and a source of strength. He wants to contribute, to lead, and to be a pillar of support. When he knows that his presence enriches a woman's life, he will remain deeply committed, always striving to give his best. Men and women communicate in fundamentally different ways, not because one is better than the other, but because they are wired differently. Men tend to be solution-oriented, direct, and pragmatic in their conversations, while women often communicate to connect, express emotions, and process thoughts out loud. This difference can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, frustrations, or feelings of being unheard, not because a man does not care, but because he processes communication differently. When a woman shares a problem, she may simply want to be heard, to express her emotions, and to feel supported. A man, however, instinctively listens with the intent to fix the issue. He believes that showing love means providing a solution, not just listening. If he immediately offers advice instead of empathizing, the woman may feel dismissed, while the man may feel confused as to why his practical help is not appreciated. Recognizing this difference can prevent frustration and help both partners communicate more effectively. Men also prefer clear, concise, and direct communication. They may not always pick up on subtle hints, body language, or unspoken emotions in the same way women do. If a woman assumes he should just know what she is feeling without saying it directly, she may end up feeling neglected while he remains unaware that anything is wrong. Instead, men respond best when they are told plainly what is needed, expected, or concerning. Silence is another form of communication for men. When a man withdraws or becomes quiet, it is often because he is processing his thoughts internally. Unlike women, who may talk things out to gain clarity, men retreat into their minds to find solutions. This does not mean he is ignoring the issue. It means he is working through it in his own way. Understanding these differences helps create better harmony, reducing conflict, and strengthening emotional connection. A man's heart thrives on appreciation. He may not always express it, but deep down he longs to know that his efforts, sacrifices, and contributions are recognized. Whether he is working hard to provide, solving problems, or simply being present, he wants to feel that what he does matters. When a man is appreciated, he feels valued, respected, and motivated to give even more. But when his efforts go unnoticed or taken for granted, he may begin to feel unimportant, unrecognized, and disconnected. Men often show love through actions rather than words, and in return they seek acknowledgement rather than constant praise. A simple thank you or a small gesture of recognition can mean the world to him. He wants to know that his work, his protection, his guidance, and his support are seen. Many men will continue giving without asking for anything in return, but if they feel their contributions are never acknowledged, they may eventually withdraw, feeling as though their presence makes no difference. Appreciation is not just about big achievements. It is about the small, everyday acts of service that men do out of love. Holding the door open, fixing something in the house, taking care of responsibilities are all expressions of care. When a woman notices these things and expresses gratitude, it strengthens his connection to her. He feels encouraged, respected, and secure in his role. A man who feels appreciated will always give his best. When he knows that his presence and efforts make a difference, he remains engaged, devoted, and emotionally invested. Appreciation is not about inflating his ego. It is about affirming his value. When a man feels valued, he will naturally pour more love, protection, and commitment into the relationship. Understanding these fundamental truths about men is the key to building stronger, deeper, and more fulfilling relationships. Men are not as complicated as they are often perceived to be. They simply have different emotional needs that, when met, bring out their best. A man thrives when he is respected, when his love is acknowledged through actions, when he has a safe space to be vulnerable, when his purpose is supported, when he feels truly needed, when his communication style is understood, and when his efforts are appreciated. When a woman recognizes and embraces these truths, she unlocks a level of connection and devotion that many long for but few experience. A man who feels valued, understood, and supported will move mountains for the woman who gives him that foundation. He will pour out his love freely. not out of obligation, but out of deep gratitude and devotion. True love is not just about emotions, it is about understanding. When both men and women learn to appreciate and respect each other's unique nature, they build relationships that are not only lasting but also fulfilling. A man does not need perfection. He needs a partner who sees him for who he truly is and stands beside him as he walks in his purpose. When he finds that, he will give his heart without hesitation, creating a bond that is unshakable, powerful, and built to last. Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm so grateful you have joined me today. And I can't wait to dive into something that has the power to change your life. There is nothing more dangerous to a man's destiny than a woman who does not value the place she has been given in his life. When a woman is ungrateful, she poisons the very foundation of a relationship. And when she is unfaithful, she destroys the trust that was meant to be sacred. A wise man must open his eyes, for there are always signs before destruction. The first sign is a lack of appreciation. A woman who cannot see your effort is one who has already decided that you are not enough. No matter how much you give, no matter how much you sacrifice, she will always demand more while giving less. She does not acknowledge your hard work, your commitment, or the love you pour into her life. Gratitude is the foundation of a healthy relationship. And when it is missing, the house will eventually crumble. The second sign is shifting loyalty. A woman who is truly committed to you does not entertain attention from others. But when she begins to seek validation from other men, when she enjoys their compliments more than yours, when she emotionally invests in someone outside of your relationship, she has already stepped into betrayal. Faithfulness is not just about the body, it is about the heart and mind. If she allows her heart to be captured by another, she has already walked away from you in spirit. The third sign is secrecy and distance. Love is transparent, but deception thrives in the shadows. A woman who is hiding something will suddenly become guarded. She will avoid eye contact. She will hesitate when you ask simple questions. And her phone will become the most protected possession she owns. She stops sharing her thoughts. She stops confiding in you. And you feel the emotional walls growing between you. When there is nothing to hide, there is nothing to fear. But when secrecy becomes a pattern, it is a warning. The fourth sign is disrespect. A woman who dishonors you with her words and actions has already lost sight of your value. When she belittles you in front of others, when she mocks your dreams, when she compares you to other men and makes you feel like you are not enough, she is revealing the condition of her heart. Love is not found in criticism, but in encouragement. The moment a woman stops respecting you is the moment she stops seeing you as the man she once admired. The fifth sign is selfishness. Love gives, but selfishness takes. A woman who is only focused on her own desires, her own needs, and her own satisfaction will never build a future with you. She will use you for what you can offer, but never invest in what you both can create together. She does not see the relationship as a partnership, but as a platform for her own gain. And when something better comes along, she will not hesitate to leave. A man must never ignore these signs, for to do so is to invite heartbreak into his life. A woman who is ungrateful and unfaithful will drain your strength, rob your peace, and leave you questioning your worth. But let me remind you, a good man does not beg to be loved, and a wise man does not stay where he is not valued. When you see these signs, do not explain them away. Do not justify the pain, and do not wait for things to change on their own. Love should bring peace, not confusion. It should bring security, not suspicion. It should build, not destroy. Choose to protect your heart, because the right woman will never make you feel unworthy. A woman who lacks appreciation for your efforts is one who has already decided, consciously or unconsciously, that what you bring to the table is not enough. No matter how much you give, no matter how much you sacrifice, she sees it as expected rather than cherished. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It is a reflection of the heart, a sign of recognition that someone's labor, love, and commitment means something. When a woman does not appreciate you, she takes your kindness for granted. She sees your consistency as routine, your patience as weakness, and your sacrifices as obligations rather than acts of love. A man who is deeply invested in his relationship naturally wants to provide, protect, and nurture. He puts in effort, whether financially, emotionally, or physically, to ensure that the woman he loves is secure, happy, and cared for. But when a woman lacks appreciation, she dismisses these acts as insignificant. She does not acknowledge the hours you spend working to build a future, the way you go out of your way to make her smile, or the silent battles you fight to keep things stable. She complains more than she compliments, criticizes more than she encourages, and compares more than she acknowledges. Instead of seeing your efforts as love, she sees them as your duty, something she is entitled to rather than something you willingly give. This lack of gratitude eventually drains a man. Over time, he begins to feel invisible, as though no matter what he does, it will never be enough. A relationship without appreciation slowly turns into a one-sided sacrifice, where one gives endlessly while the other simply takes. Love without gratitude is exhausting, because effort without acknowledgement feels like pouring into an empty cup that will never be full. Loyalty is the foundation of any strong relationship, and when a woman's loyalty shifts easily, it reveals a lack of true commitment. A woman who is truly dedicated to a man does not entertain distractions, nor does she allow temporary attention from others to shake the bond she has built. But when her loyalty is unstable, she is easily swayed by the excitement of new conversations, the flattery of strangers, or the temporary thrill of something different. Instead of seeing commitment as a choice, she treats it as a convenience, remaining faithful only when it benefits her. A woman whose loyalty wavers is emotionally available to others, even while in a relationship. She enjoys attention from multiple sources, responds to flirtation, and keeps doors open just in case she finds something better. Her interactions with other men are not guarded. She allows emotional connections to form outside of her relationship. Instead of protecting the trust that has been given to her, she indulges in curiosity, entertaining the possibility of what someone else might offer. She may not always cross physical boundaries, but the betrayal begins long before that. Emotional disloyalty is just as destructive because it shifts her focus away from the man she is with. The signs of this shifting loyalty are subtle at first. She starts to engage in private conversations that she hides. She begins to compare her partner to others, and she grows more distant without explanation. She may claim innocence, but her actions reveal a divided heart. A woman whose loyalty is easily moved does not value what she has, because when someone truly values a relationship, they protect it. They do not entertain alternatives or allow outside influences to weaken the trust that was meant to be sacred. Secrecy and distance are some of the clearest indicators that something is changing in a relationship. A woman who was once open and communicative but suddenly becomes guarded is often hiding something, whether it is emotions, thoughts, or actions she does not want to reveal. When love is genuine, it thrives in transparency. But when deception enters, walls begin to form. She starts withdrawing emotionally, engaging less in meaningful conversations, and avoiding discussions that require depth and honesty. One of the first signs of secrecy is a shift in behavior. She becomes overly protective of her phone, changes her passwords, or takes calls in private. Where she once shared her daily experiences with excitement, she now offers vague answers or avoids certain topics altogether. Simple questions that once led to easy conversations now make her uncomfortable. She may become defensive when asked about her whereabouts or whom she spends time with, creating an atmosphere of tension where there was once ease. Distance is not just physical, it is emotional and mental. She stops seeking comfort in the relationship, no longer confiding in her partner the way she used to. Instead of feeling like a team, he begins to feel like an outsider. Left guessing about what is happening in her mind and heart, she loses interest in the little things that once matter-of-eye contact fades. Affection becomes rare and the connection weakens. The warmth that once defined the relationship turns cold, not because of external stress, but because her heart is elsewhere. A woman who becomes secretive is protecting something, and that protection often comes at the cost of honesty. When love is real, there is no need for hidden conversations, unexplained absences, or guarded emotions. Distance and secrecy do not appear without reason. They are symptoms of a deeper shift that should never be ignored. Disrespect is one of the most destructive forces in any relationship. When a woman begins to show disregard for a man through her words and actions, it is a clear indication that she no longer values him the way she once did. Respect is the foundation of love, and without it, a relationship turns into a battlefield where one person constantly feels diminished, unheard, and unappreciated. Disrespect does not always come in the form of loud arguments. Sometimes it is in the subtle ways. She belittles, criticizes, or dismisses his presence. A woman who disrespects a man in her words speaks carelessly, often in a way that wounds his spirit rather than uplifts him. She mocks his dreams, downplays his struggles, and makes sarcastic or degrading remarks that chip away at his confidence. Instead of offering words of encouragement, she highlights his weaknesses, making him feel inadequate. She speaks to him with a tone of superiority, as if his opinions, efforts, or contributions do not hold value. Disrespect in words is dangerous because it creates an emotional distance, making a man feel unwanted in a place where he should feel safe. Her actions reinforce the same attitude. She ignores his efforts, dismisses his presence, and openly compares him to other men in a way that makes him feel small. She makes important decisions without considering his thoughts, undermining his role in the relationship. Her body language speaks louder than words, rolling eyes, walking away mid-conversation, or giving the silent treatment to manipulate situations. The warmth of love is replaced by cold indifference, and instead of being a source of peace, she becomes a source of constant stress. Disrespect is not an accident. It is a reflection of the heart. When a woman no longer sees a man as worthy of honor, she will treat him with disregard. And when respect is gone, love cannot survive. When a woman prioritizes her selfish desires over commitment, the relationship becomes unbalanced and one-sided. She sees the relationship as a means to fulfill her own needs, rather than a partnership built on mutual sacrifice and dedication. Instead of working towards a shared future, she focuses on what she can gain in the present. Her choices revolve around her own happiness, comfort, and ambitions, often at the expense of her partner's well-being. She does not consider how her actions affect the relationship because her primary concern is herself. This kind of behavior manifests in different ways. She may constantly demand attention and resources without reciprocating effort or appreciation. She expects her partner to be available for her needs, yet she is unwilling to compromise when it comes to his. If something does not serve her immediate desires, she disregards it, showing little concern for how it might impact the stability of the relationship. Her idea of love is transactional based on what she can receive rather than what she can contribute. Over time, this selfish approach creates distance and resentment. A man who continuously gives without receiving in return begins to feel emotionally drained. He starts to realize that his value in the relationship is measured by what he can provide rather than who he is. She may dismiss his emotions, belittle his struggles, or avoid making sacrifices when they are required. When challenges arise, instead of standing firm, she looks for an escape because commitment is not her priority. Her comfort is. True commitment requires selflessness. But when a woman is only invested in her personal desires, she becomes unreliable. She makes decisions based on her wants rather than what is best for both partners. A relationship cannot thrive when one person is fully committed and the other is only committed to themselves. When a woman finds fault in everything you do, it is a sign that she has lost appreciation for who you are. No matter how much effort you put into the relationship, she always has something negative to say. The things that once made her smile now seem to irritate her. Instead of recognizing your strengths, she magnifies your weaknesses. Instead of encouraging you, she constantly points out what you lack. Over time, this pattern of criticism wears a man down, making him feel as if he will never be good enough. This behavior does not happen overnight. It starts subtly, a complaint about the way you dress, a comment about how you handle certain situations, or comparisons to other men who she believes do things better. At first, it may seem like harmless suggestions, but gradually it turns into a never-ending list of your shortcomings. She criticizes how you talk, how you work, how you lead, and even how you express love. Nothing you do seems to satisfy her because she is no longer looking for reasons to appreciate you. She is looking for reasons to justify her dissatisfaction. The deeper issue is not just her words, but the impact they have on your confidence and sense of self-worth. A man who is constantly torn down begins to question himself. He starts to believe that no matter how hard he tries, he will always fall short in her eyes. The love that should uplift him becomes the very thing that makes him doubt his value. This kind of treatment slowly drains the joy out of the relationship, replacing love with tension and frustration. A woman who truly loves a man does not seek to find fault in everything he does. She seeks to uplift, support, and bring out the best in him. When a woman has no guilt for betrayal, it is a clear sign that her heart has already disconnected from the relationship. Betrayal is not just about physical infidelity. It is any act of disloyalty that violates the trust and commitment that once held the relationship together. A woman who betrays and feels no remorse does so because she has either justified her actions in her mind or never truly valued the relationship to begin with. Instead of acknowledging the hurt she has caused, she dismisses it, shifts the blame, or even acts as if nothing happened. Her lack of guilt is evident in how she responds when confronted. Rather than showing regret, she becomes defensive, downplaying the seriousness of her actions. She may even try to turn the tables, accusing her partner of being insecure, overly controlling, or the reason she sought something outside the relationship. Instead of seeking forgiveness, she justifies her choices, refusing to acknowledge the emotional damage she has caused. Over time, this absence of guilt leads to a dangerous pattern. If she can betray without feeling remorse, she will do it again. The relationship becomes a place of manipulation rather than love, where deception is excused and loyalty holds no real meaning. A woman who does not feel guilty for hurting The one who has been loyal to her has lost the ability to truly love. Her actions reveal that she sees the relationship as something temporary, something that exists only for her benefit rather than as a commitment to protect and nurture. True love carries accountability. When someone makes a mistake, genuine love compels them to feel sorrow, to seek forgiveness, and to make things right. But when there is no guilt, no remorse, and no effort to change, the betrayal is not just an event, it is a reflection of who she has chosen to become. A man must never ignore the signs of an ungrateful and unfaithful woman, for to do so is to invite heartbreak into his life. A woman who lacks appreciation, shifts her loyalty easily, becomes secretive, disrespects her partner, and prioritizes herself over commitment is revealing the condition of her heart. Love should not be a battlefield where one person fights alone while the other takes advantage. A relationship built on dishonor, deceit, and selfishness will only lead to destruction. A wise man does not beg to be valued, nor does he remain where he is repeatedly betrayed. He understands that real love is built on trust, mutual respect, and selflessness. If a woman shows through her actions that she does not cherish the relationship, he must have the strength to walk away. Staying in a toxic environment does not prove love, it only proves a lack of self-worth. A good man deserves a woman who sees his value, who stands beside him with loyalty, and who nurtures the bond they share. The greatest mistake a man can make is holding onto someone who has already let go of him in her heart. There is power in recognizing when to fight for love and when to let go for the sake of peace. Love should uplift, not destroy. It should build, not break. The right woman will never make a man question his worth, because true love does not require a man to suffer in order to be seen. Hello everyone, and welcome back. I'm so grateful you have joined me today, and I can't wait to dive into something that has the power to change your life. There is something powerful about a woman who knows her worth. She is not just a creation, she is a masterpiece. She is not an accident, she is an assignment. But what happens when that masterpiece is broken? What happens when that assignment is rewritten by pain? Too often, a woman who has been mentally abused doesn't even recognize herself anymore. The mirror does not show her face. It shows a reflection of fear, of doubt, of questions that should never have existed in the first place. She used to stand tall, but now she second guesses every step. She used to speak with boldness, but now she whispers apologies for things she never did. She used to dream, but now she only survives. Mental abuse is not a loud thunder. It is a quiet storm that erodes confidence, erases identity, and enslaves the soul. A woman who has been mentally abused carries wounds that are invisible to the eye, but heavy on the heart. She no longer trusts her own voice because someone else has silenced it. She no longer sees her beauty because someone else has made her feel unworthy. She no longer feels free because she has been caged by the words of another. But here is what I need every woman to understand today. Your past does not define you. Your pain is not your identity. The fact that you have been broken does not mean you cannot be whole again. A woman who has been mentally abused must first recognize the lies she has been told. She must understand that she was never meant to live in fear, to carry guilt that is not hers, to hide her light under the shadow of another. She was created to stand, to rise, to walk in power. And today, I declare that she will rise again. No matter how long you have lived in that darkness, you have the authority to step into the light. No matter how many times you have been silenced, your voice still carries purpose. You do not need permission to heal. You only need the decision to begin. Today, if you recognize these signs in yourself or in someone else, I challenge you to take a stand. You were not made to live in chains. You were made to be free. And the moment you decide to reclaim your power, no force in hell can stop you. There is a silent battle that takes place in the mind of a woman who has been mentally abused. It is not fought with fists or weapons, but with words, manipulation, and the slow erosion of her self-worth. She once carried herself with confidence, knowing her value, understanding her uniqueness. But over time, the words spoken against her, the constant criticism, and the subtle or overt belittling created cracks in the foundation of her identity. At first, she may have resisted, reminding herself of who she is, holding on to the belief that she is enough. But mental abuse does not always come in a single wave. It is often a steady drip, wearing down even the strongest spirit. She begins to question her decisions, wondering if she is as incapable as she has been made to feel. She hesitates before speaking, fearing that her words will be dismissed or ridiculed. She shrinks in spaces where she once stood tall, unsure of whether her presence even matters. The loss of self-worth is not always immediate. It happens in moments when she is made to feel foolish for expressing an opinion, when her achievements are downplayed, when she is blamed for things beyond her control. Eventually, she starts to believe the lies. She sees herself through the eyes of the one who has hurt her, rather than through the truth of who she really is. She stops pursuing her dreams, convinced she is not capable. She tolerates mistreatment because she no longer believes she deserves better. Even in silence, the damage continues. She may smile, she may function, but inside she feels like a shadow of the person she once was. The voice that used to tell her she is strong, intelligent, and valuable has been replaced by doubt, by fear, by the echoes of words that were never true. A woman who has been mentally abused often carries an invisible weight on her shoulders, the burden of constant guilt. She finds herself apologizing for things that do not require an apology, as if every action, every word, and even her presence is an inconvenience. Over time, she has been conditioned to believe that she is at fault even when she is not. She apologizes for expressing emotions, for needing support, for taking up space, and sometimes for simply existing. This pattern does not begin overnight. It starts subtly with accusations that make her question herself. She is told she is too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. She is made to feel that her feelings are invalid, that her concerns are exaggerated, that she is responsible for the emotions and reactions of others. If someone else is angry, it must be her fault. If things go wrong, she must have caused it. She internalizes this belief, replaying past interactions in her mind, wondering if she could have done something differently to prevent conflict. Even in moments of peace, the habit remains. She says, "I'm sorry," before asking a question. She apologizes when someone bumps into her. She feels guilty for saying no, for setting boundaries, for prioritizing herself. This reflex is not just politeness. It is the result of emotional conditioning that has taught her she must always be agreeable, always accommodating, always making herself smaller to avoid upsetting others. Over time, this guilt takes a toll. She loses trust in her own judgment, afraid that any decision she makes will have negative consequences. She hesitates before speaking, worrying that her words might offend. She carries the weight of responsibility for things beyond her control, believing that if she can just be perfect enough. A woman who has been mentally abused often lives in a state of quiet hesitation, where every word she speaks feels like a potential mistake. She has learned, sometimes through harsh correction, ridicule, or silent rejection, that her thoughts and feelings are not welcomed. Over time, she begins to filter every sentence, weighing the possible reactions before she even opens her mouth. The fear of saying the wrong thing becomes so deeply ingrained that silence feels safer than honesty. At one point, she may have spoken freely, sharing her ideas, dreams, and emotions with excitement. But repeated dismissals, criticisms, or even explosive reactions have taught her that expressing herself only leads to conflict or pain. If she voiced a concern, she was told she was overreacting. If she disagreed, she was made to feel ignorant. If she expressed an emotion, she was labeled as too sensitive or too dramatic. Slowly, she withdrew into herself, not because she had nothing to say, but because she feared the consequences of saying it. Even in everyday conversations, she hesitates. She may start a sentence only to stop mid-thought, second-guessing whether it is worth the risk. She downplays her opinions, speaking in a way that is careful, cautious, and overly agreeable to avoid confrontation. She learns to nod instead of object, to smile instead of question, to shrink instead of take up space. This fear extends beyond words. It affects her ability to express needs, set boundaries, or stand up for herself. She convinces herself that staying quiet will keep the peace, that withholding her true thoughts will make things easier. But in reality, her silence is not peace. It is the suppression of who she truly is, a survival mechanism born from repeated isolation. Does not always happen forcefully. Sometimes it is a slow, calculated process that a woman does not even recognize until she is completely alone. Mental abuse often comes with a gradual distancing from family, friends, and anyone who might serve as a source of support or perspective. What begins as subtle discouragement soon turns into complete separation, leaving her feeling disconnected from the very people who once gave her strength. At first, it may seem harmless. She is told that certain friends are a bad influence, that family members do not truly care about her, or that outsiders will never understand their relationship. Small comments turn into persistent doubts, and before long, she begins to withdraw. Invitations to social gatherings become rare, and phone calls grow less frequent. Every attempt to reach out is met with disapproval, creating an internal conflict between pleasing the person she fears losing and staying connected to those who truly love her. The isolation may also be reinforced through guilt. She is made to feel selfish for spending time with others, as if prioritizing relationships outside of the abuser is a betrayal. She may even be given ultimatums, forced to choose between the person controlling her and the people who remind her of who she used to be. The more isolated she becomes, the easier she is to manipulate. Without external voices reminding her of her worth, she begins to believe the narrative fed to her. Over time, she stops reaching out, not because she does not want to, but because she feels she no longer belongs. She convinces herself that no one would understand, that it is too late to reconnect, that her world has become too small to allow room for anyone else. The loneliness becomes a cage built not of walls, but of emotional barriers designed to keep her trapped exactly where her abuser wants her. There comes a point when a woman who has been mentally abused no longer reacts the way she used to. She does not cry as easily, nor does she laugh as freely. The emotions that once flowed naturally become muted, distant, almost unreachable. She feels as if she is watching her own life from the outside, disconnected from the joy, the pain, and even the moments that should make her feel alive. This is not by choice. It is a defense mechanism, a way her mind has learned to cope with the constant emotional turmoil she has endured. At first, she may have fought back, defending herself, expressing her feelings, trying to reason with the person causing her pain. But over time, after being dismissed, ridiculed, or ignored, she begins to shut down. If every cry for help is met with indifference, if every expression of hurt is used against her, she learns that feeling only leads to more suffering. So she stops. She stops expecting comfort, stops hoping for change, stops believing that her emotions matter. This numbness extends into every area of her life. Moments that should bring excitement feel hollow. Achievements feel meaningless. Relationships lose their warmth. She goes through the motions, doing what is expected but feeling none of it deeply. When asked how she is doing, she says she is fine because the truth feels too heavy to explain. Even in the rare moments she does feel something, it is fleeting, overshadowed by an overwhelming emptiness that refuses to leave. She may appear strong on the outside, functioning as though nothing is wrong, but inside there is a void where her emotions used to be. The numbness is not peace, it is the absence of the ability to fully experience life. A silent surrender to a pain that has become too much to bear. A woman who has been mentally abused often reaches a point where she feels completely dependent on the very person who has caused her pain. This dependence is not just physical or financial, it is emotional, psychological, and deeply ingrained in her perception of herself and the world around her. She may not even realize how much she has been conditioned to believe that she cannot function without the person who has broken her spirit. At first, she may have had confidence in her own abilities, but through constant belittling, manipulation, and gaslighting, she begins to doubt herself. She is told, directly or indirectly, that she is incapable, that she cannot survive on her own, that no one else would want her, or that she is too weak to handle life without the abuser. The repetition of these messages plants seeds of fear and uncertainty until they take root in her mind. She begins to rely on the abuser's validation, even when it rarely comes. Her emotions become tied to their moods. When they are pleased with her, she feels a brief sense of relief. When they are angry or distant, she feels anxious and desperate to make things right. She no longer trusts her own judgment and seeks approval before making even the smallest decisions. She convinces herself that leaving is not an option because she has been led to believe she cannot make it alone. Even if she has opportunities to escape, the fear of the unknown holds her back. She has been isolated from support systems, made to feel worthless, and conditioned to believe that she is safest where she is, even if it is hurting her. The dependence is not love. It is a carefully constructed illusion designed to keep her trapped, believing that she has no choice but to stay. A woman who has been mentally abused often lives in a constant state of alertness, as if danger could arise at any moment. Her mind is always scanning the environment, analyzing tones, expressions, and even the smallest shifts in behavior to anticipate potential conflict. She has learned that the mood of the abuser can change without warning, and because of this, she feels she must always be prepared. This hypervigilance is not a choice. It is a survival instinct developed from prolonged emotional and psychological distress. She becomes highly sensitive to criticism, even when none is intended. A simple question or a neutral expression can send her mind into overdrive, trying to determine whether she has done something wrong. She replays past conversations repeatedly, searching for clues about what she should have said or done differently. Even in moments of peace, she cannot fully relax because she has been conditioned to expect the next wave of tension or anger. Her body reflects the stress her mind endures. She may struggle with insomnia, unable to quiet the thoughts racing through her head. Her muscles remain tense. Her heart beats faster at unexpected sounds, and she startles easily. Everyday situations that others find normal, such as receiving a text message or hearing a door close, can trigger a sense of panic. She has spent so much time trying to avoid conflict that her nervous system no longer knows how to rest. This heightened anxiety extends beyond the relationship. Even in safe spaces, she questions whether she is truly welcome. She hesitates to make decisions, fearing she will choose incorrectly. The world feels unpredictable, and because she has lived under constant emotional threat, she finds it difficult to trust, relax, or believe that she is ever truly safe. A woman who has been mentally abused may feel like she has lost herself, but she is not beyond restoration. The scars on her mind and heart do not define her. They are reminders of battles she has endured, not a prophecy of her future. She is not weak for what she has suffered. She is strong for surviving it. But survival is not the final destination. Freedom is. Breaking free begins with recognizing the truth. She was never meant to live in fear, guilt, or silence. She was not created to be controlled, diminished, or isolated. Her worth is not determined by the opinions of those who tried to break her. The moment she chooses to reclaim her identity, to reject the lies, and to take even the smallest step toward healing, she is already walking in power. No one has the right to steal her voice, her confidence, or her future. She is more than what happened to her. She is worthy of love that does not hurt, of relationships that do not demand her destruction, and of a life that reflects her true value. Her story is not over. The world is waiting for the woman she was always meant to be.